So I'm out here today with our new farm purchase, looking at our new Holland Speedrower 260 and with the Durabine 416 head on it. I'm really excited to get to running it, and I think it's going to be a great machine. Um, we've always had a pull type disc mower, disc conditioner 1431, and before that we had like the 499 sickle series. So this is the first self-propelled we've had, so I'm really excited to get to run it. I think it's going to save me a lot of time on running across a lot of acres. It was killing my back and neck trying to run all those acres without a self-propelled, and I think just the turn time, operator ease, I think all those things, the extra 2 foot ahead, I think all those things are going to be great benefits to this operation and getting our hay put up a little more timely. And with the flood waters that we've had in 2019, we're going to need to be able to get everything done that we can whenever we get to running, because we are extremely saturated now and it's not getting much better. I was a little nervous about purchasing this. There's some pretty bad reviews on a couple of these machines out there, and I think maybe this Speedrower's gotten a little bit of a bad rap. I know I really enjoy one Lonely Farmer's videos. He really puts stuff to the test. He tests it in the field, he runs the machinery, and he had a horrific experience with a 240. And you can tell, if you know machinery and you've ran a lot of machinery, you can tell by the sound of that video there is something really wrong with that machine. And if every machine that New Holland put out there and made ran like that machine did, they would be out of business. Capitalism would take over there, and they just wouldn't be able to sell a machine to anybody. I've seen a lot of videos where people are really blowing through some tall material and getting through it at 10, 12 mile an hour. We buy all of our New Holland machinery from the local dealer, Whip Sales and Service in Clarinda, Iowa. And part of the reason that we are New Holland is because we've got a relationship built up with that dealership. Brian Whip does a fantastic job. The service team and parts team is awesome. They know all of us. They've known my parents for 40 years. They've known me for 20 plus years, and there's a relationship built there. And when we tell them what field we're in, and if something's wrong, we run New Holland combines, they can 90% of the time come to the field that we're at without telling them how to get there. We can't get that with John Deere. You can't replace 30 or 40 years of working with someone. So that's why we go with New Holland equipment, and so far we've gotten along really good with it. There were some interesting things in that video from at One Lonely Farmer on YouTube that he really didn't like about his machine, and they've addressed a lot of those issues. I was glad to see it, because that was a really good, insightful video, because I was able to go through this machine when it was sitting on the lot and really look through some of those things. So I appreciate that video that he put up there. I know one of the things he really didn't like was on this header. And when you get up under here, they've changed what company's cutter bar they use. Clearly you can see I haven't used this machine. I'm just going to kind of do a walk around of this machine, and then after I get about 100 acres or 150 acres on it, then I'm going to do another video actually in the cab, how I like it, how it's running, how I know how the RPMs react. But Whip Sales and Service, they don't ever sell one of these machines and not come ride with you and teach you how to run the machine and integrate you with the machine. And so when I asked him about the video from at One Lonely Farmer and how his head was dogging down in grass, it really wasn't very thick. I'm afraid he just got a junk machine, and I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter whether you're buying New Holland, John Deere, Case, Heston. I think all of these companies make fantastic machinery. Just like a Chevy or Dodge pickup or a Ford pickup, you can't just see a Ford pickup get put on a trailer and getting hauled down the road, and every Chevy owner or Dodge owner, whatever you are, likes to say, well, look at those pieces of junk. Well, there's millions of them on the road that have no issues. There's tens of thousands of these things all across the world, and I'm afraid he got a junk machine, and at least that's what I'm hoping, since I haven't ran this thing yet. Really hoping. But there's a lot of cool features that they've changed. I like that they don't have the kickers like I just mentioned. They do have them just on the outside too. I had those on my 1431. They worked fine, but we have some places that are rocky in our area, northwest Missouri and southwest Iowa, and those things just accelerated that rock up. One thing that I hope I fall in love with that I wasn't crazy about, and I really looked hard at John Deere, was this auger system. You know, a lot of companies don't have an auger, and my 14-footer didn't have an auger, and I ran that thing when I bought it. The previous owner ran it for about 8 years, and I ran it for another 6, and neither one of us ever plugged that machine running 8, 9, 10 mile an hour through thick alfalfa and all sorts of grass. One year I cut 10-foot tall sorghum sedan grass that I couldn't get harvested because there were so many rain showers I never could get it mowed, and we had no issues with that machine at all. It at 8 mile an hour blew right through that 10-foot tall sorghum sedan grass and never plugged. So I hope I fall in love with it. I don't totally agree with the fact that they need an auger in there. I think they could have done an extra, I think they call these towers. They could have done an extra tower here that was maybe set back a little bit to kind of run an angle and just throw it into those rubber rollers. And that would have worked just fine. But it's a lot bigger hub than what my pull type machine was, and it's got those. There's a little deal around the side of the head here. This deal here, I haven't played with it yet, but somehow you put that deal on each side, I believe, of these, and then you use the torque to push down on that, and you can pop that blade out of there. It's quick change blades. The big feature was this tin. This tin that everyone talked about would dent. Well, New Holland has added this really thick piece of, I don't know what it is, plexiglass. It's about 1/4 to 3/8 inches thick, and it coats the whole bottom of the head. So we're starting to get protected for any of that rock damage. And then he had a great point on his video about the corners didn't have bolts in them and they pushed up. And New Holland has put bolts in those corners and started to resolve that issue. So that was good to see that, you know, if people are going to listen, you know, if people are in the field and they've got a problem with a piece of machinery, it's good to know that they're going to listen. So those are things that I liked. I like that this is just a spring loaded to your chain and your drive belt. I like that I can just easily get to that, grease it, and go on. I didn't order this machine. The implement dealer did. He always orders 260s because we have a lot of big hills, and he just wants the extra horsepower for climbing up and over hills. He got the biggest tires possible. I would have rather had bar tires. I didn't order the machine. They came with these on them. Before I go switching them, I'm going to try and run them. A little nervous with all the rain we've had in 2019 that might run into some issues there, but most of our fields have really good drainage, so I'm excited about that. I like that my windrow width is controlled from within the cab, so I like that. He put the biggest rear tires possible on this machine with the swivel bar. They've got the tensioner on it, the airbag system. I like all that. As we get underneath the hood here, there's some things that I really like. They do have this spring cab suspension system. We'll see how that works. Just like our New Holland combines, it's got the easy windshield to see. They've got some dampeners for your system. I do like that they have kind of this firewall material in between here in the cab. Another feature I really like, so they've got the battery split each side to side, but the feature I like is the DEF system is up high, and there is a clear gap between the motor and the other DEF tank that comes out into the exhaust system. And so that is, your fan is going to run air non-stop in between those two, so that we don't get a really hot pocket in there for the motor and start knocking out some seals or anything else. So I like that feature a lot. It'll be interesting to see how that keeps it cool, but I like the added firewall. How wide open the machine is. You can get to anything in here. The oil's right there to add oil for the motor. So I really like just how wide open it is. I like the DEF system's tall. The back end of these things, there for a couple years they were kind of goofy looking. I kind of like the back end of this thing. I think it looks sharp. I know another thing on At One Lonely Farmer's video, was that this system here, I think there's some sort of suction. There's a that the deal goes around and it sucks material off of your just your filter there to keep it out of your radiator initially. And he had that pipe getting plugged up. Well, New Holland has made it much larger. I think that pipe on his was just a circle, and they've made this. You can see how big that is. You know, it's probably almost 7 inches tall and a lot larger. So I think they've adjusted that. They probably had material getting plugged up in numerous ones and added to that so that works better. Somewhere here I can release this. I like that these fold out, my radiators fold out, and then this next one, I'm kind of on the incline here, but that one folds out as well. So I really like that all of them fold out, easy to blow off, and looks like a really good system to clean itself. Kind of hard to hold the camera and mess with all these things. So over here, one feature I don't like is the solid step. It comes up to almost my knee, so we shouldn't have an issue there, but I don't think that, you know, it's just like a combine. The bottom step should be rubber, I think. That's just my thoughts on it. Another thing I'm not crazy about, it's kind of getting nitpicky, but the fuel, you have to open the side door to get to the fuel. I do like that you can fuel it from the ground. You don't have to climb up on top of it and risk dripping fuel all the way down. The DEF system's here, but I just wish they would have made it. I know they were going for ground clearance. I just wish they would have made it where I could have fueled this thing without opening the side door. But everything's really clean and wide open on these machines to get to, so I like that. So we'll climb into the cab. I ran my neighbor's John Deere, and I don't know John Deere numbers, so I couldn't tell you what it was. I guess a W230 or 250, or like I said, I don't know their numbers, but there was a ton of cluster over here. A wonderful machine. I really enjoyed running. I only ran it for like a half hour, but I really enjoyed it. I just got the 4-panel monitor. I'm going to be steering this machine myself all the time. I don't have auto steer. I really don't need some big color touchscreen machine. Some features I like is just how clean everything is. Everything has a purpose. The only thing it doesn't are these buttons. I'm not going to have a draper head on this thing ever. I like how I can preset everything. I'll have a preset button here for 2 different heights, just like my combine. I can do 2 different heights as far as what I want to cut at. I like the reverser. You know, obviously with a tractor and a pull type, you've never had a reverser before. Now, I just mentioned I never plugged the machine, so I hope I don't need it, but I've never had an auger in a machine either. So let's just hope everything goes well there. Like I say, the machinery dealer ordered this, so he got the upgraded radio. Those things will all be nice. It's got the cold start, which I doubt I'll ever be using unless I start it in the winter to move it out of the way for something. A feature I love on these machines, and it's probably popular on numerous machines, is I can increase and decrease the RPMs of my cutter bar. So after I get done cutting my alfalfa, and I've had that head tipped down, and so then I'm going to go around and clean up some pastures, and I start trying to cut grass that maybe the cows have grazed it for a while, and I'm just going to bale whatever I can off of it, and it's not very thick. I always had trouble with that disc bind head blowing material down on the ground, and I can slow my header RPMs but still have full RPMs on the machine. 3 gears. In first gear at the dealership when we were driving around the grass patch there, first gear went clear up 12 mile an hour. I know the steering was also a problem with One Lonely Farmer. He talked about how maybe the steering was a big issue with, I think in that one video you can see he's just constantly steering back and forth. They must have fixed something, because this thing was going 24 mile an hour down the highway, and there was no swapping back and forth, there was no oversteering. It was very comfortable. Something that I'm excited about, and it's probably silly that I'm excited about it, is they put these little foot humps for you to just at the perfect angle for your foot to sit on. Now when I'm combining corn and soybeans, I always had my foot propped up on the glass because I wanted that angle on my feet. And New Holland fixed that problem for me. What do you think, New Holland? This whole system's adjustable forward and backward from up here on the front. I do like that there's kind of a little bar here to kind of rest my fingers on, and I can kind of just with fingertip control my speed instead of having my hand up here like I have to grip it. I can just kind of have my fingers there and just kind of roll that forward and back with my hand resting on that bar. I like that. But I really like the clean, simple design of this. You know, it's not overkill. I'm mowing grass, okay? This isn't rocket science. I'm going to mow alfalfa and I'm going to mow grass. And I want it to be the right width. I want the conditions to be right. And I don't need 19,000 buttons sitting here to do that, okay? That's great. I really like that the left and right float on this machine. You can adjust, and it'll show me my different pound, you know, my pounds on each side of here on right and left, and I can adjust each side to where they match. If for some reason one's 50 pounds more than the other one, I can match those. Here's my button to adjust my windrow width from inside the cab. There's an auto steer button, park button. I'm not going to fire it up right now. This video is kind of getting long anyways, but extremely roomy cab. He put the rear and the front sunshades in those. Really like that. The cab's set up a lot like my power windows. The cab's set up a lot like our combines. It's just the cab's very similar. Maybe even the same size, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to get to run this machine. That's kind of the walk around and some of the changes that New Holland's made. Like I say, I'm excited to run it. I hope that it's not a turd like that 240 was on that one video, because like I say, I don't care what machinery you run, every company makes good machinery. So, you know, people like, you know, the critics, the John Deere people, the people that have no interest in New Holland like to call these no rowers. And like I say, most of that's just people on their keyboard thinking that they're funny. But we have been extremely happy with New Holland. 9 times out of 10, it's your dealer that you're dealing with, not the actual company. Because like I say, if every one of these that they produced was all junk, they wouldn't be able to produce them anymore. Capitalism would take over. People don't buy things that don't work, especially farmers. When things don't work for our operations, we just get rid of them. You know, we don't have time, and we don't have the resources to sit there and pay for breakdowns over and over. That's why he got rid of his Speedrower 240. I'm hoping this 260 is going to be a lot better. Like I say, our implement dealer rides with almost everyone that buys one of these, and he said that he has never seen one dog down, especially like in that video. I mean, he said he's been riding with people that they were doing 12 mile an hour and first cutting alfalfa and just buzzing through that stuff, and it's not even surging. So I don't think I'm going to have an issue. I hope I'm not. But after I get 150 acres on this machine, I will upload another video of how it's working. Hopefully, after all the rain that we've had, it will stop raining at some point. The river's been out twice. Ground's extremely saturated. We have all our corn in, maybe a third of our soybean crop. But we are wet with a lot more rain called for. So I guess I hope I just get to use this machine at some point this year. That would be handy. But the cows probably want to eat this winter. So that'd be cool if I could get to use it. But it's getting hot in here. I didn't turn the machine on, or the AC, so I'm gonna get out of here. But look forward to the video of the machine actually running. And if you never see one, then it caught on fire and I got rid of it. But I'll upload one, and thanks for watching.